Hey, this week on the Film Frat podcast, we are talking about fandom. And I don't just mean your ordinary film geek. I'm talking about Star Wars geeks. Okay, maybe geeks is not the right word to use here, but dedicated Star Wars fans. And no one embodies the spirit of fandom that I know better than Raymond Montemayor, today's guest, who is the founder, owner of a little company called Pixelplex, which has created a lineup of films dubbed as the Star Wars Toy Stories. Now, please stick with me throughout this episode. Just do it. Do it now. Because this is episode 16 of the Film Frat podcast. Let's go.
This is the Film Fraternity Podcast, a show that's all about filmmaking in college, so you can turn your student projects into powerful portfolios. And now, here's the host of Film Frat House, Zach Sabo.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It is episode 16, if I'm not mistaken, which is crazy because I just can't believe that we're already this far, and I'm thankful to each one of you who is listening to this. It means a lot to me, and I'm super excited about this episode because today's guest is someone who shares a passion of mine, and that is Star Wars, okay? And Star Wars, I don't just mean your ordinary Star Wars fan. He is a fan filmmaker who has won the Spirit of Fandom Award for the Star Wars Film Awards, Fan Film Awards. So if you don't know what that is, it is basically the premier fan film awards show / competition that happens. It tries to happen every year, but I believe this past year, 2019, they skipped out on the Fan Film Awards. But for 2018, Raymond Montemayor, our today's guest, has won a special prize, and I am super, super excited to bring him on. He talks about animation, he talks about how he got a community together and went out and made a film that became a series of films. And today, he just talked to me about his latest project, the Toys Awaken, and that has won a good number of awards and made it into many, many festivals. So I just, this guy was gold, okay? I really wanted to pick his brain about what the festival run was like, what it was like to gather a local community to create something that they were all passionate about. And the Star Wars fan community is one of the best. So without further ado, I hope you guys get a lot out of this. It's gonna be packed with brain exploding information. I don't know how else to explain it. Knowledge bombs, some might say. So take notes because this is my conversation with Raymond Montemayor of Pixelplex. All right, Raymond Montemayor is in the house. How are you doing, Ray?
Good, thanks for having me, Zach. Really appreciate it.
Well, I'm honored because I've been seeing you in the community do some amazing work. You're posting on Facebook and Instagram all the time.
Yeah, I think I'm annoying people. That's a little too much, but.
But you're doing some awesome work,
Thank you.
And I remember kind of indirectly working with you with Film Consortium title cards, or,
Oh, right,
or lower
yeah.
thirds or something like that.
Yeah, when you were interning for Jody, right? Yeah, I think it was lower thirds.
Yeah.
That's right.
What a task. Yeah, we have better things that we can work on.
Yeah, but I guess you need lower thirds.
I guess, yeah. That was for the San Diego Film Awards, in case you don't know what that is, you should check it out. Anyway, it's put on by Film Consortium San Diego, which is a local community that I guess we're both a part of. I don't know, I don't know if I can say it. I'm a student, but you can say it.
You're part of it for sure, yeah.
Sure. But yeah, it's a cool thing. And the theme of this episode, I was kind of like thinking it over, like what this should be, because you created a great line of work that's recently been about fan films and Star Wars.
Yeah.
So is it going to be about Star Wars? Is it going to be about fan films? Is it going to be about stop motion animation? Because like I feel like that's a whole topic we could delve into.
Right.
But I'm going to call this the Spirit of Fandom because of the award
nice.
that you won.
I
We
love
can talk
it.
about that later. But I'm really curious to start off. How did you get into filmmaking in the first place?
Oh yeah, so it's actually through these fan films. My first career after grad school was engineering, so I was an electrical engineer for about 12 years, I think. Yeah,
Wow.
about 12 years. And after I had my first daughter, like about a year, when she's about a year old, I decided to quit engineering and freelance doing motion graphics. And that's something I kind of had been getting my feet wet in, during one of my engineering jobs. So I had done some graphic design, I had done some video work for the company, and I really enjoyed it. And I had like done some video work back in college too, nothing serious, but so I thought, oh, let me try freelancing. That'll let me spend more time at home with the kids, and I'll be able to do this creative thing that I enjoy. So I first started doing motion graphics, and that's how I met Jody actually at the Film Consortium. How did we meet at first? I think I submitted my motion graphics demo reel for like the 2014 San Diego Film Awards.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
like when they posted about the film awards, they said, oh, we're taking films, of course, but then they said, demo reels and stuff they want to show. So like, okay, let me get in that way.
Yeah.
And so yeah, from there, like I kind of got inspired by all these great filmmakers down here that are doing independent work, and I told myself, oh, I want to make a film that I can submit for the San Diego Film Awards. But nothing had popped into my head as like what I should do, or even how to do it, because I'm not a filmmaker by trade. But then Disney, after they had bought Lucasfilm, they announced that they were resurrecting the Star Wars Fan Film Awards, which Lucasfilm had let kind of die after I think since 2011.
Yeah.
They were a big supporter of it. They had it every year from like I think 2002 to 2011. Then it stopped, and then Disney resurrected it. So I said to myself, that's a perfect opportunity to try something. It's just for myself. Something, and I love Star Wars. I'm hyped about The Force Awakens coming out. So I was pumped up about that. I was like, okay, I'm going to Celebration in Anaheim. It'd be awesome to be part of, not just an attendee, but a part of the, a part of the whole event by being one of the contestants in the Fan Film Awards. So that was my first entry into filmmaking. So I had no idea what I was doing. Right, I had to figure out, okay, how do I write a story? What I want to write about?
Yeah.
And how do I recruit cast members and shoot locations and all that stuff? Like it was kind of a daunting task, and I produced the whole thing myself.
Wow.
So it was like a learn on the go kind of thing, like just feet to the fire, just kind of do it.
Yeah. I feel like that's how we all learn, is just by doing it. Like we're all afraid of like starting our first film.
Yeah, it's kind of scary because like, I got to know a few filmmakers like through the 2014 Film Awards, and it was kind of intimidating to try and like play in that area without having any background. But yeah, I watched a lot of like tutorials. Especially on like screenwriting, just like to. So I had some semblance of a story, like something that made sense and arranged in a way that would fit into a short film.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, I think the most challenging thing for me was that part, because I had some familiarity with cameras, and I was already comfortable with post-production.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's really the pre-production stuff that I was nervous about.
Yeah, it makes sense looking at your films that post-production is your strong suit. I can tell. We'll delve into that a bit more later, but the technicality of like your animation is something that not everyone can do, and it's a very challenging thing to even make a single animation, let alone to go in and digitally manipulate, say, like the lips. Right, which I saw with Ray. What you did with Ray, the character. So that was really cool.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Yeah.
And also, I didn't realize this until now, but it was smart that you started with a Star Wars film because of the revival by Disney. It was now relevant again. It's
Right.
current. So people are going to have eyes on it. So on the franchise
Right,
in general,
right.
and people are probably searching on YouTube, Star Wars or
Yeah.
Star Wars fan film, maybe.
Yeah.
So and the fan film awards too. So people are looking at that, of course.
Yeah, and there's been like an explosion of fan films like in the last 5 years or so, I would say. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there, and there's some really great stuff. Like there's levels to it.
Yeah,
But there's like a lot of really, really great stuff that I've seen in the last few years. So
yeah.
I mean, there's no shortage of Star Wars fans that want to make films, and a lot of them are like legit filmmakers that know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, it's really cool to see those kind of productions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like, as a side note, like the ability to create visual effects is easier now than ever before.
Yeah.
The software is getting more accessible. Like
Right.
companies are democratizing that. Like Blackmagic is doing with DaVinci Resolve. They made it free. I feel like that's cool. Blender, 3D modeling software, is
Right.
free.
Right.
So it's a cool shift that we're seeing with post-production.
Yeah.
It's like kind of cool.
Yeah, even if you want to use some of the more expensive software, so if you want to do 3D in like Autodesk software, like you want to use Maya, like now that they've adopted the licensing model for sort of monthly licensing model, you can, on a per project basis, you can decide to just buy that license for however long you need it, and then stop when you're done, to help you kind of optimize your budget.
Right.
So like for the Toys Awaken, I did some 3D modeling for the facial stuff, facial animation.
What software did you use for that?
Oh, so I used a combination of things. I used Autodesk Recap. So I used that to do photogrammetry. So I took a bunch of photos of the toys that I wanted to animate. And Recap does this process called photogrammetry, and they stitch together all of these photos into a 3D model. And then I use Autodesk Maya to retopologize that because it's not appropriate for animation. You have to clean it up and do a lower poly count model that you can animate easily.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause the more polygons you have, the more complexity, right?
Yeah,
Is that the
yeah.
logic? I'm not as
Yeah.
familiar with some of this because I've never used Maya, but
Yeah,
I always
and-
wanted to.
And the way you lay out the polygons, it can make it easier or harder for what you're trying to animate. So I used Recap to get a high-res 3D model. I used Maya to retopologize it and to rig it and animate it. Then I use After Effects is what I mainly use for compositing.
Okay, yeah.
So I use that to composite those pieces onto the plates.
Okay. Yeah, we use After Effects too at
Yeah.
school. They teach us how to use the whole Adobe suite.
Yeah, it's really cool for indie stuff. I mean, some people prefer not to use like Premiere for editing or whatever,
Yeah.
but I find that whole ecosystem of software to be convenient.
Yeah, so you're starting to create this empire, if you will, of Star Wars films. Forgive me for using that. Okay, maybe that's has a bit of a negative connotation. I won't use that. what can I say?
Yeah.
Rebellion? I don't know. Anyway,
Stick with
whatever's
Empire.
the good side.
I like Empire.
But you're creating this this array of films. Where was I going with this? And it's based around Star Wars. What was your relationship with Star Wars that made you want to make a fan film of the franchise, besides its relevancy with Lucasfilm and Disney?
Oh, I think that
What's something about Star Wars that like stands out as?
so the story of the original Star Wars: A New Hope, that one really kind of captured my imagination, and I could relate to Luke Skywalker. That's who I wanted to be in the film. You know, if you relate to anyone in the film, I think that one is the one for me.
Okay.
So it's just, I think, even though I didn't realize it at the time when I was young, that that's what my connection was. I thought all the space battles were cool, and the Force was cool, and all the technology. But it's really the stories of the characters, and you know, it really had a huge impact on me when I was younger, and it just kind of stuck with me. And just that combination of Star Wars and their official fan film awards, I wanted to enter that, and my goal was to win. I wanted to be recognized by Lucasfilm. That was, I don't know, that was a specific goal of mine. I didn't do it the first time around in 2015, but I did a few contests, and eventually I was good enough to to win it. But yeah, it's just, I love Star Wars. You know, some people have a love-hate relationship with it. I have a love-like relationship. I mean, there's different levels of like all the different films and TV series. I have a lot of love for some of them, and some of them I like okay, but overall it's just something that's near and dear to me. And because I really wanted to explore filmmaking, it just seemed like the natural thing to do. And I mean, there are a lot of fan films that are live action that deal with in like the Star Wars universe. But I wanted to do something a little different, something about fans themselves, Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, how can I make a short film about that? And what's something else, you know, personal to me that I can put into it? And one thing I do is collect Star Wars stuff because I'm such a big geek. So action figures is one of those things. And I always thought, I always loved the premise of Toy Story, you know, classic Pixar. And I just thought, you know, it'd be cool if I combine all of this stuff into a Star Wars Toy Story. So that's kind of how it turned into that. And I thought, and I've always loved stop motion animation. I thought, oh, that would be the perfect application of that style of animation to tell this story. And that's another one of those things I was like super nervous about because I had never done stop motion animation before. So that was something that I had to pick up quickly on the first film, and it was okay, but I've been kind of improving ever since. So
been definitely seeing that.
Thanks.
Wait, so yeah, the first Toy Story you did, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Toy Story, or is it a New Hope?
Episode 4, A Toy Story.
Episode 4, A Toy Story.
Yeah,
okay,
so I threw the Episode 4 in there because I wanted people to know that it focuses on the characters from that film. Those specific, so Han, Luke, Leia, Chewie. So, for the first film, I thought, okay, if I was on the judging committee, what's the least controversial thing, you know? Like, because some people aren't too keen on the prequels, but most people like A New Hope. You know, that's kind of the standard. So it's like, okay, let me focus on this, on A New Hope, on those toys, because, you know, everyone loves those characters. So the title's a little long, but I thought I should throw that in there.
Cool, yeah. And I didn't realize this either until now that you said it's a fan film about Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
That's like kind of Inception in a way. I love that. The concept is so original.
Oh, thanks.
It's really cool because yeah, most people like to make the live action stuff.
And I'd love to do that someday too, but I knew like for the experience level I had and the no budget that I had,
Yeah.
that this was like kind of the most feasible thing, and it turned out to be really fun. So
Yeah, and it was about toys, right?
Yeah.
So could you say again why you chose to make it about toys? Is it because of the action figures that you said you collect, and it kind of like serves as like a reason to talk about Star Wars fans?
yeah, so I kind of wanted to represent different aspects of Star Wars fandom in these films, and you know, one of those things was, you know, something that maybe other collectors can relate to. You know, if you collect action figures, there might be this notion that, you know, you're too old for toys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I wanted that very first one. I wanted it to be about a guy who collects Star Wars toys, like I did,
Yeah.
but his girlfriend wanted him to grow up and, you know, get rid of all these toys and like basically get rid of a part of himself. And so that was what that first, the setup for the first story was. It's like something I could relate to because that's something I was always, something I always kind of thought of. You know, it was like, am I too old for this stuff? Is it like am I being too immature? But no, it's just if you like something, you know, you like something. So
Of course.
so that's what that first one was about. So the toy aspect was very personal to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I landed on that, and it was a great way to represent a certain slice of Star Wars fandom. And then I kind of expanded on that, like with the Toys Awaken. So if I had seen The Force Awakens before I made my first fan film, that's the story I would have wanted to tell for my first shot.
Okay.
So in the Toys Awaken, it's really telling the story. There's a few things, but one of the big things is kind of trying to put down in this short film all the excitement surrounding a new Star Wars movie. So people, you know, when you watch the trailer, it's exciting. People getting ready to go to the movie, a lot of people like to dress up in cosplay to go to the films. And then just the excitement of sitting there and watching the Lucasfilm logo come up and a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So I wanted to put that in like that feeling into the story, like that experience that people have. And, you know, also the whole toy collecting thing is a part of that as well. So that's, and I actually started filming this not too long after The Force Awakens came out. So I thought of the story immediately after I watched The Force Awakens for the first time.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so the idea came into me right away, and I spent some time writing the story. And I started filming in April of 2016. And I didn't enter it until the 2018 contest because I had missed the 2016 deadline. And I put it on hiatus for a bit, and I did a film in between.
Okay.
But I eventually came back to the Toys Awaken. That's why it's it's set like in 2015. I intended it for the film to come out much sooner than it did, but it's still relevant. I mean, it's you know, every year there's been a Star Wars film, you know, so it's still kind of relevant, like going to see a new Star Wars movie. So, but yeah, so yeah, it's all about trying to represent different aspects of fandom, and then the other thing is the kind of the story of the girl Riley and her trying to fit in and find friends, and you kind of see that also in the toys. Like Rey's kind of a newcomer; she doesn't know where she is, and she makes friends in this whole process of the story, and so now she has her little group, and then Riley she realized that she has a friend, and she shares Star Wars with her friend. That's
Yeah.
a thing that they can share and bond over. So, but yeah, that was the other thing, is the character stories, besides just representing fandom.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah,
thanks.
and something similar, a similarity between the first Toy Story and Toys Awaken is the presence of the Millennium Falcon. And I just realized you had. Were there two different versions of the toy Millennium Falcon?
Yeah.
Because I remember watching episode 4 of Toy Story.
Yeah.
And that Millennium Falcon was a toy that I had personally.
Yeah.
And the X-Wing too. Like,
Yeah.
they were both toys that I played with as
Yeah,
a kid.
those are, I think those were from the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I had on hand.
Mm-hmm.
And
Cool.
I decided to use those in the film. But for the Toys Awaken, I wanted to use like a variety of toys. So I wanted definitely to have some Lego toys in there. So I thought, oh, the Lego Millennium Falcon would be super cool to use.
Yeah. That was cool. Oh, that's right. It was the Lego one.
Yeah, yeah.
I was wondering.
And,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
specifically, I wanted to have Lego Han Solo
Oh, yeah.
as the Han Solo character, rather than the more realistic looking Han Solo that was like I don't know if you follow any of the action figure stuff, but there's a line that Hasbro puts out called Black Series, and there are these 6-inch figures that have really pretty good looking figures in terms of face sculpture and all that. But I didn't want to. I wanted like a silly kind of Han, like more whimsical. So
Yeah.
The Lego Han seemed to be the right choice. So you have to use the Lego Falcon to pair
It
up
made
with
sense.
him.
It made perfect sense. I loved the cleverness of like the different kinds of fan items, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the Chewie was plush, right?
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
also very adorable.
Yeah.
And Yoda was not even a full size Yoda.
Yeah, it was
Just
like a hacky sack Yoda.
It was great. And I recognize in the credits, that David Dawson played the voice of Yoda,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Which I haven't met him, but I know his name floats around in the community.
Oh yeah, he's a big part of the San Diego Film Consortium, and I've gotten to know David through that.
Great Yoda voice. That's one of the better Yoda
Yeah.
impressions that I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's awesome, and yeah, I got to know him by working on the Film Awards. I do the motion graphics for the show, and I work closely with him to do that.
That's cool.
And yeah, he knew about my films. He's like, hey, if you ever need a voice, because he's a voiceover actor as well.
Huh.
It's like, oh, perfect. Okay, can you do Yoda?
That's so
And yeah,
great.
yeah, he was up for it for sure. But yeah, he does a lot of different kind of voices, and he has like a deep voice that he can modulate and
Yeah.
do all these cool things. So yeah, I thought it'd be great for Yoda. Yeah. So the Toys Awaken, I just posted on YouTube just last month, like a couple weeks ago. It had won the fan awards in December of 2018, but I had it in film festivals for a year, so a full year. So after the last one, I finally posted it. And for this very last, I did one more final edit for the one that was going to go up on YouTube. So I did, like, I finished all the facial animations. But, you know, speaking of voiceover actors, yeah, I got Jamie Costa to do the voice of Han Solo. I had done it for the original edits because my first voiceover actor, turns out I couldn't use him for the contest because he had done work for Disney previously.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Actually, so he's
That's
a great,
interesting.
yeah, he's a
Wow.
great guy. Kif Vandenheuvel, he actually did the voice of old Han Solo for their web series Forces of Destiny. So that's how I just searched for someone that could do the old Han Solo voice, and he popped up, and he did we recorded everything, and it was awesome, and you know, I spent a lot of money on the recording studio, and it turns out we couldn't use it. So I wish we could have, because he did such a great job. But so at the last minute, like kind of the 11th hour, I like recorded Han Solo because I didn't have any other options. But for this very last one, Jamie Costa did the voice for Han Solo, and so I edited that in as well as finished some of the facial animations. And Jamie, you might know, he's done his own fan films. He kind of got, he did get famous on Vine for his Robin Williams impersonations.
Oh.
So he's a kind of
Wow.
a master voice impressionist, and he's produced his own Star Wars fan films. He did one called Han Solo, A Smuggler's Trade, where he plays Han Solo, and that's how I knew he could do this Harrison Ford impersonation. And then just recently, also last month, he put out his film Kenobi, a Star Wars fan film. But Jamie, like, I was lucky to get him for my next project. And since I had him for that project and we were recording stuff for that, I was like, oh, can you record lines for this one I'm about to put up? And he was kind enough to do that. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Jamie because he's awesome, and he replaced my sad Han Solo lines that I did myself. And it sounds great right now. I think it's perfect.
I love it. Yeah, it's very accurate. I have to say. It's
great.
so cool. And by the way, I didn't say this earlier, but I am a huge, huge Star Wars fan. Huge.
That's great.
So, as we're recording this, I believe Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, is still in theaters, right?
It is, and I hear it's supposed to have an 8-week run, so it's going to go into February.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, it's
That's
doing reasonably well.
Yeah.
I think.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
we're
would-
not going to do a film critique of it, but you know.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it a lot too.
Yeah, maybe off air we can battle it out and see what we thought about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was really curious, and I'm sure other people are, how the film festival run was for you, because I see your posts all the time, and like months ago, I saw like one after the other all these festivals that you attended. I'm like, wow, how does this guy do it?
Oh yeah,
So like, I wouldn't mind if you like shared like from the very beginning, like from your episode 4, Toy Story, how
yeah.
that was compared to now, the Toys Awaken.
Yeah, so the whole film festival, that whole world was foreign to me for that first film, of course. But I had heard of, film festival submission sites like Without a Box and Film Freeway. I guess Without a Box is defunct now.
Yeah, it is.
But
Rip.
Yeah.
Without a box. Anyway, yeah.
But so I kind of got to know those two platforms, and I basically just searched for festivals that are friendly to kind of fan films and genre type films. And there were a few out there that were really good that I was able to get into. And I was surprised actually that I got into any film festivals on that first one. But yeah, there were, back then, a couple that stuck out. There's the Azure Lorica Fan Film Awards, and that's a festival devoted to fan films.
Wow.
It's an entire festival just for fan films. And there was Geek Fest Film Festival. It's a traveling film festival. You have one submission fee, and they go to different conventions across the U.S. So depending on the year, you could be in 7 to 10 different Comic-Cons screening your film. And there's quite a few from that first year that I thought were really good. Gen Con's another one, Gen Con Film Festival.
Okay.
Which is that, if you're not familiar, Gen Con is a big gaming convention in Indiana. So I was lucky to get into that one. But yeah, there's so many. But yeah, from that first year, it was great getting my feet wet and attending some of those, just to kind of see what it was like and to network with other filmmakers. So that was great. And I just continued that with the second film and with the Toys Awaken.
Yeah, cool. And so has the Star Wars Fan Film Awards been going on every year? And were you able to submit each of your films to the Fan Film Awards?
So the first one, episode 4, A Toy Story, that went into the 2015 Star Wars Fan Film Awards, and it was a finalist for Best Visual Effects. And looking back on it, it's okay, but you know, I could have done so much better with some time and experience. Of course, I didn't have enough experience back then. 2016, that's what I intended the Toys Awaken to be submitted for, but I missed that deadline. But Lucasfilm actually had a different film contest late that year in October that was coinciding with Rogue One when they were releasing that. So it was a 2-minute short film contest. So I made a 2-minute short film called The Rogue One, a Star Wars Toy Story.
Yeah.
And that was focused, it's still the same Toy Story premise, but using all toys from the Rogue One movie.
Right, yeah, Jyn Erso,
Yeah.
K2SO.
Yeah.
My favorite droid now, I might say, because I loved Rogue One.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
so original,
Yeah.
yet so intertwined with Episode 4.
Yeah.
That it just made sense.
Yeah, and it's not like a saga film, but it's really, you could say it's almost like one of the episodic saga films. It fits right in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did that film for that contest. So I did enter a 2016 Lucasfilm contest with that. Didn't win. That was a smaller contest. They didn't have as many awards, and not quite sure what they were looking for exactly with that one. But it was a good experience because I was able to kind of develop my stop motion animation and improve it a lot, actually, as well as my camera work and just overall post-production. And then they didn't have the contest in 2017, but when they announced that they were going to have it in 2018, that's when I restarted production on the Toys Awaken.
Okay.
And once they announced that, I was like in full gear to try and finish it up, because I had so many people that helped me on that film in terms of actors and background actors and all that, because there were so many people in that movie theater scene.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. Yeah.
So I wanted to finish it as much for them as I wanted to for myself, and I kept telling people, you know, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And so that 2018 announcement was like the final push to help me finish.
Yeah.
So I definitely wanted to not miss that deadline. So they had it for 2018, and they didn't do it this year in 2019 for some reason.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I think maybe there was so much going on with all their other stuff, Episode 9,
That's
all the
true.
Disney Plus, their series coming out with that, The Mandalorian and all that. But I'm hoping maybe in 2020 they'll have it again, because that timing will line up with, I think, when my next short film will be complete. So,
Cool, yeah. And okay, so I want to talk now a little bit more about the Toys Awaken. Last final note about it. Maybe not final note, but last couple of notes, because it's a great fan film, I might add.
Thanks.
So that's why we're talking about the Spirit of Fandom, is because I think your film really does embody that term, that concept, the theme of the Spirit of Fandom. So I can see why it was awarded the Spirit of Fandom award for the Star Wars Fan Film Awards, and that's a big honor. So, can you talk about like the opportunities that came about after you won that award, or because of that award? To start, I saw you were recognized on the Star Wars show.
Oh yeah,
right?
that was a cool little thing that they did. They had a special, like, for those that don't watch the Star Wars show, it's a weekly web series that Lucasfilm puts out, and it shows up on StarWars.com and on their YouTube channel. But it's usually a 12 to 15 minute-ish program. And they had a special episode at the end of 2018 where they announced all the winners for the Star Wars Fan Awards for that year. And yeah, it was cool. They asked all the winners to submit like little thank you or acceptance speech kind of videos.
Yeah.
So I did one with my daughters. I did a little stop motion animation for that as well. And they just used little clips from everyone's speeches. So some of that stop motion got in there, and our film was announced on the air, and like at the very end, a shot of me and my daughters there saying "May the Force be with you" was on there. So that was super cool, like to be on the Star Wars show, and like my actors were really kind of hyped that their voices,
imagine.
their voices for those few little stop motion animation clips that they used their voices were on the Star Wars show, so that was cool. Especially
the Star
David.
Wars show, this is, right? Yeah, I remember. It's so good.
Yeah, and
It's
David,
so good.
David was super excited. I mean, he's a huge Star Wars geek too, and his voice popped up several times, I think, throughout the episode.
Yeah.
So that was like one big thing is, okay, so now these Star Wars show folks kind of know my name and like this fan film that I did. So when I went to Star Wars Celebration in Chicago in April, just a few months after, 4 months after the awards show, they already knew my face and they knew my film. So yeah, I don't know if I guess we started talking about this a little bit before.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the cool thing is when I went to Celebration, just through some networking that I had done with some folks at theforce.net, I happened to run into them in person. It was all virtual, our networking in the past. But I got to talking with them about the fan awards and how I had a film that won something, and I had set up some fan film screenings with a couple other filmmakers adjacent to Celebration off-site, because there was nothing in the actual convention dealing with fan film, so we decided to do something. So they said, "Oh, that's cool. We're going to go talk to one of the producers of the Star Wars show, and we're going to suggest, hey, you should interview these guys about their fan films, because there's no representation for the fan films at this thing." So they were kind enough to talk to the producers of the show, and then I get a text like while I'm standing in line to get into the convention that, "Oh, hey, I'm AJ Camarillo, I'm one of the associate producers here, and we want to set up an interview with you." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And I have 2 other filmmakers with me that won, and they're doing these screenings with me. Can they join us? And so the 3 of us were interviewed on the Star Wars show live stage. And so that, whatever happens, that's like burned into its canon. It's in Star Wars show history.
That's crazy. Guys, go watch this video on YouTube first watch the Star Wars show episode, and then watch that interview during Star Wars Celebration in Chicago.
Yeah,
was that
cool.
2017, 18?
2019. 2019.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2019.
But on my website, there's a link that jumps straight to that point in the interview, so you don't have to sift through it. It's a long. It's like a live stream video the whole day, but that. So that opened some doors, like just in terms of networking. And I had talked to AJ, the associate producer, and I was talking about, how could we try and get some of the Fan Film Award winners to attend the episode 9 premiere. And so the Star Wars show has nothing to do with like who gets to go, but they pointed me in the right direction. They said, talk to fan relations. And just through my fan filmmaking over the years, I had known someone in Star Wars fan relations, Pete Vilmer. And so I emailed him right after Celebration. I was like, hey Pete, I don't know if you remember me. I emailed you about some fan films. And we were just at Celebration. We had this idea, what would you say to inviting the Fan Film Award winners from the Disney era? to attend the episode 9 premiere, and he loved the idea. He just couldn't invite everyone. So what ended up happening was we got to have all of the 2018 winners attend, which was great because I'm one of the 2018 winners.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took a while to finally get the kind of the green light from them. So I talked to them in April, and then I had to get back in touch with them in October, and there was a whole like month or so of retouching base and stay tuned and and then I had an ordeal to try and get in touch with all of the award winners, because there's no straightforward way of contacting them. Like when they post their winning videos on StarWars.com, they just give a first name and a last initial.
Oh, I see.
And so I had to search for all these folks and somehow contact them and hope that they get back to me. And after like a lot of effort, I was able to contact all of them, and they were all excited to go. We even had one guy come in from Australia for the premiere. He was like super pumped, and it was great.
Wow.
Yeah, but like that whole opportunity to attend the world premiere of The Rise of Skywalker, it all kind of sprung from all this fan film work, and it wasn't planned for. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna do this so that I can attend the final movie in the Skywalker saga, that premiere. It just like kind of organically happened.
Yeah.
With a lot of networking and a bit of luck, and a lot of hard work, just making the fan films in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's like, they say, always be prepared to be lucky, So
yeah, I mean.
yeah, you kind of you have to kind of make your own luck. I mean, there's luck definitely involved in a lot of things, but you have to be ready to receive it and be ready to act on it. So luckily,
definitely.
with like a bunch of things going the right way and a lot of hard work, there's a lot of opportunity to make contacts, and that leads to other things, and you never know where these things go. So
Yeah. Networking.
Yeah,
Networking is that's the number one advice I can give anybody that I've talked to, is like networking leads to so many cool things.
Yeah, and that's why I love the whole film festival thing is all the networking opportunities. So I try to, besides just submitting to as many as I can, I try to attend as many as I can. I can't attend all of them that I get accepted to, but if I have a chance to attend in person, it's great to meet other filmmakers and network, and also to meet just people that are excited to watch the stuff that I'm putting out and that other filmmakers are putting out, and kind of get a feel for like, what do they like about the film,
Yeah.
There's things that I can improve, and it's great. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah. I wanted to close this topic by asking you, what should the audience take away from the Toys Awaken in general, as a thematic story, like, and what primary things should they get out of it?
Okay, so I think the main, like the underlying message there is that you should be comfortable being yourself. And if you're yourself, eventually, even if you feel awkward, eventually the right people will surround themselves around you. You'll find your people somehow. And in this film, it turns out to be, the Star Wars community. But if you're into sports, there's obviously a community for that. If you're into like stamp collecting, there, whatever it is that you're comfortable with, don't be afraid to be that person.
Yeah.
Because you'll find friends that accept you and celebrate, who you are, and because it's, something that they're supportive of. So yeah, that's kind of the underlying thing, don't despair if you think that, you're socially awkward. Like, I mean, I felt that way before. But eventually you'll find your stride. Yeah.
That's a good message. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so-
really like that.
Thanks.
And you were talking about your cast earlier.
Oh,
Were
right.
there some people that were involved besides your voice actors and
Oh, yeah,
and the group that made the movie theater scene happen?
Oh, yeah,
Is
yeah,
some
yeah.
people you want to talk about?
Yeah, so the movie theater group was made up by a bunch of Star Wars geeks like us. So folks from the San Diego Star Wars Society, the Star Wars Steampunk Universe, and the Science Fiction Coalition. These are all like fan groups that do cosplay and charity work. So they're a really good group of people. And I had about 30 folks help me out, for that movie theater scene. Wow. And then also my actors. So like from the very first film, Edwin Frank Ortiz has been a mainstay for all these films. So I'm so happy that he signed up in the beginning, and he's been in all the films, and as well as Taylor Coster. So she was in San Diego, but she moved back home. But I think I have a role for her in mind, even remotely, for our next film. Mm-hmm. So Taylor has been in all of them, which I'm grateful for. So they're my main live action characters. They play Lucas and Bobby, and then Robert Nixon, who's for a long time was in San Diego, and he's like well known in the San Diego film community. So he's a voice actor that he's also a stage actor, and he does other things. But for these films, he did voice acting, which I'm grateful for. And I mentioned David Dawson, mm-hmm. and Jamie most recently, Jamie Costa, and let's see, I can't forget Witten Frank. She's in LA. She came on board from the second film onward, so she did the voices of Jyn Erso for the Rogue One.
Okay.
And she was Rey for the Toys Awaken.
Okay.
And for our next film, yeah, actually all of these folks should be involved in the next film, and I'm getting even more people involved as well. So for the next one, we've got Mike Egbert and Adam Daniel. So they're San Diego actors as well. So I'm excited to have that. They're like huge Star Wars fans too. I'm excited to have them on board. And I don't know if you're a podcaster. I don't know if you listen to a lot of YouTube, like podcast type shows, reaction shows, things like that. But yeah, so Tyrone Magnus, he has his channel called Tyrone Magnus.
Okay.
But he's a voice actor and actor as well, and so he's going to be in. He has a small bit part in the next film. He does the voice of Darth Vader for the next film, but he's going to be a big part in our project following that, which is like a feature-length kind of film. But yeah, so all those folks, I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. I think, and for the very first film, I had a couple guys, Carlos Grijalva and Rob Tharp, that helped me out on the very first film. But they're filmmakers as well. But yeah, all these folks, I mean, when I first started, I was basically begging for people to help me, and I'm so happy that, I met these folks, and it's just been through networking, able to get more people involved, and it's been great.
Cool. Yeah. So actually, you said your next project. So what's next for Pixelplex, which is your company, right?
Yeah. My company Pixelplex. So that's my freelance motion graphics, visual effects, animation business. But our next fan film project is in the Star Wars Toy Stories series. So it's gonna follow that same Toy Story premise in the Star Wars kind of fandom. It's called Home Solo, a Star Wars Toy Story. So it's, I think Star Wars meets Toy Story meets Home Alone.
Okay.
So it's got a little Home Alone type vibe to it. You've got kids home alone with their toys, and you've got intruders trying to break in. That's kind of the setup. So the toys come to life as you would expect,
Yeah.
and they help the girls defend their house. But,
That sounds exciting.
yeah.
Wow.
but I mean,
Hyped.
that's like the kind of the character. I mean, the action part of it. But there's like a whole character, like a character arcs in there that tell a story, and kind of there's a theme to it as well. Just like in the Toys Awaken, there's a theme. But yeah, so I'm excited to have both of my daughters in this one. So I don't know if you know the role of Riley in the Toys Awaken, the 7-year-old. That's
there was
my
a funny story about that,
Oh.
right? You used both your daughters
Yeah,
in
yeah,
that
yeah.
film, and we, as the audience, don't even know.
yeah.
You made
Yeah.
it so seamless.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier we started filming in April of 2016. I didn't finish all the live action shots until like August or September of 2018. So that's like a 2.5-year span. And my oldest daughter, Malia, she started filming her scenes back in 2016. By the time we got to finishing her scenes in 2018, she had grown a lot.
Yeah.
So we couldn't quite use her. So my youngest daughter, Nora, stepped in. She was the right age in August of 2018 to play the role.
Wow.
So we did a bunch of shots with her where she was kind of a body double. And then when we needed some facial reactions from Aaliyah, because they don't look exactly the same, we would just do extreme close-ups of her eyes to like show some reactions. But yeah, so just a little bit of editing and stuff, and we were able to do it. But for Home Solo, Nora will have her own character. She won't be a double.
Okay.
So she has her own character, and Malia has her own character. So it's gonna be fun to have them both in it with their own characters, fighting off bad guys.
Cool.
Yeah.
So hyped.
Yeah, me too.
Love your content.
Oh,
so
thank you.
I'll post everything in the show notes
Cool.
for everything that we talked about, including like the software that we talked about
Oh, yeah,
earlier. So final thing is, what advice would you give for people who want to get into stop motion animation or any animation, because your films are very focused on that technique. And second, for filmmakers in general, for students, for anyone who wants to be a filmmaker.
Yeah,
That's a big question.
Yeah, big. Those are big ones. Okay. Well, so if you're like me and you're not in film school, you don't have the first clue of what to do, but you like movies and you want to do something, I think my best advice is, and I've heard a lot of people say this actually, just go out and shoot your first thing, make it small and manageable, but know that it's not going to be that great. But don't be afraid to do it, because you have to get the first one out there, and you can improve from that point on. So you have to go through the process so you get familiar with everything involved. And a lot of what I picked up was there's a lot of stuff out there on YouTube. I watched a lot of stuff on lynda.com, tutorials and stuff on just filmmaking in general, so script writing and editing and visual effects. There's a lot of sites out there and YouTube channels that are great that I've gone to for inspiration and like actual techniques on how to do certain things. So there's a lot of knowledge out on the internet. You just kind of have to sift through the sea of stuff and find the good ones that will help you. But I guess my best advice is just to commit to a project and just do it, because you can spend a ton of time just like writing a script and rewriting it until it's perfect, but it's never perfect. So just get it to a point where you can actually shoot it, and then just do it. And
Just do
yeah, just like Palpatine says, do it.
Do it.
Yes, do it.
One of my favorite lines.
Yeah. Same thing with animation. I mean, there's a lot of technical stuff. Since you asked about animation, I mean, a lot of the technical stuff you can learn online, but it's really, you can watch all the tutorials you want till you're blue in the face, but you actually have to do it for all those lessons to stick and for you to start picking things up and improving. So, for animation, no matter what kind of animation, you're trying to get into, there's stuff that you can learn online, and then you can just try it out, you know. And the first few things that you do may be bad, but at least you're trying, and there's something you can improve upon. So.
Yeah, great. And where can people find your work?
So all my Star Wars fan film stuff you can find on our fan film page, starwars.pixelplex.com, and on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube is at Star Wars Toy Stories, plural, and on Twitter it's SW Toy Stories. Yeah, I think that's all the places. And then my main freelance business website is pixelplex.com. And
Awesome.
from all those stuff, you should be able, if you want to contact me, you can find me on all of those platforms.
Right, yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Ray, for joining in on the Frat
I appreciate
House
it, Zach.
and giving your advice. It's been an honor and pleasure.
It's been great for me, and I really admire what you're doing with the podcast, so I wanted to support it as much as I can. So
Thank you.
Congratulations on, what is this, like the 15th episode or something like that?
Yeah, we have a 15th coming out next week.
Okay, so this is somewhere in there in the
16th,
teens.
probably.
Okay.
Yeah, 16.
Yeah, so congrats on the show. I mean,
Thank
It's
you.
really good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Film Frat podcast. Remember to check out the show notes at filmfrat.com for all of the links and information that we mentioned in the episode, such as the software that we both talked about, Autodesk products, and SD connections, meaning the San Diego connections that we talked about, and the community groups, which is why I want to reiterate again the importance of networking. I talked about this in at least 2 other episodes, and I have to say that you can do it. You can get out there and network and bring a community together to serve for your film. And that's exactly what Ray did by bringing the Star Wars fan groups over to fill that movie theater scene. So just remember that, and remember that it's all possible if you put your mind to it. So remember that. And again, thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. It means a lot. You can follow me on social media at Sabo Films. You can also follow the Film Frat podcast at Film Frat on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. All right, guys, thanks again. And remember that you are gifted, you are creative, and you are able. Talk to you later.
That's all from this episode of the Film Fraternity Podcast. For more filmmaking tips and tricks you can use on your next project, visit www.filmfrat.com. That's FILMFRAT.com.